So to get access to inside of the car, if the car is locked with a battery flat, first thing you can do, go to your key, little tab here, pull that across, and then that allows you to remove the emergency key. And if you lift up the door, obviously this door is opening because the thing's locked, but there's the entry point, put that in there, and that will manually unlock the door. So that bypasses all the electrics inside the door and opens the unlocking mechanism. So once you're inside the car, go to the front fuse panel on the right hand side, get your fuse removal tool and pull out this red tab there. It'll pull out like that. There's a contact on that. There's a contact on either side, but it's the same thing, and you can put a big alligator clip on that for a lead that goes to another battery. The negative can go to any other part of the chassis. I normally just use the lug that the door latches onto, but anything, a screw that's connected to it will work. And then you're going to use these switches down here to open up the front boot. So everything else working, it should be fine. A bit of background on the way the electrics work in the car. There are two what they call body control modules, front and rear. The front lives up here underneath the dash on the right hand side, or on the on the driver's side. So I think it's on the left hand side for a left hand drive car, can't be sure, but the rear body control module lives underneath the left seat. And so, for example, in this car where I had the rear body control module had been destroyed because it was soaked with water, then the rear body control module doesn't work. When you hotwire this, it sends power to both the front and rear body control modules. And the switches down here get power. This all runs through the rear body control module, so if that's destroyed, these won't work. And then, funnily enough, it sends from the rear body control module to the front body control module a signal to open up the front boot. So both of those units are involved to open up the front lid. What it means though is if you have got water in your car or there's something wrong with the rear body control module, even though you hotwire this with a flat battery, then these switches won't work. So you'll need to find an alternative method to get into the front boot. And also I'll show you a similar way to get into the rear boot. Emergency access to the front lid comes via a cable that lives behind the wheel trim in the front left wheel. To get access to this, we need to remove the trim because it sits about there. Normally it sits behind a piece of foam that lives in a gap between here and the sort of the front lid area. To get this off, we need to remove this one first because of the overlap up here at the top. And we need to remove this rearwards to get it out. It won't come out, or certainly it's really hard, and it's easy to knock the clips off and all that sort of stuff at the front here unless you take the rear off first. So to take the rear off, we've got two 10mm plastic nuts. They come off, and there are a number of screws. There's two up the top here, one there, and then there are three underneath here. Once they are removed, then this thing, and I'm not sure if you can see it, but there are slots in here. This whole thing slides inwards and then it comes out pretty easily. When you take out these screws here, these are T25, so Torx 25. Those underneath, some of them are T25, some are T30, and the T30 ones have a funny ridge on them. So take notice of where they come from. The ones that hold onto panels at the bottom are generally the T30 with the ridge. There's one underneath here that isn't from memory, but there's four up the front here on the front trim that are of that variety. So once you get the rear out, then there's a whole bunch of screws in here. You can take this off. So there's one there, the two at the top are already gone. There's one there, and there's one in there near the fan, plus the four underneath. And then you'll have to pull this thing sideways and then pull out the front here as you pull this out. And then once that is out, then we get access to what's behind. Not sure if you can see that. That is one. Let's see if that focuses on that. That's the one with the ridge on it from the underside. Now I've already removed two of these before because I'd removed the underfloor panelling, but there are three under there with the underfloor panelling still in place. So once that trim is out, I'm not sure if you can see it, but it's up in there and it's going to live behind this foam, so you can pull that out, put on a pair of vice grips, give that a good yug, and that'll pop open the front lid. To get access to the rear boot manually, if the electrics aren't working, at the back of the right rear wheel, this is the wheel arch in here, and this is the trim on the inside. There is a single 10mm nut, it's made of plastic, that just comes straight off there, and if you pull this out, you'll see there's a little Bowden cable, and that is the manual release for the rear boot latch. So you've got to put a lot of force on this to make it move. So I would suggest getting some vice grips or something like that, putting that on there and really giving it a good yug, because it's not like a Bowden cable, it just goes through all the metal and stuff through a bunch of little holes and bends. So there's a lot of friction involved. But that's how you open that up. Now, whilst obviously I've got the car lifted and the wheel off at the moment, for this one, you can do this with it sitting on the ground. I've done this before, when you just lie on the ground and stick your hand up in here with a tool, remove that, and then get your hand up there, put some vice grips on it and give it a pull. It's a bit of a squeeze, but it can definitely be done.